Hi everyone, welcome to Teacher Gela podcast. I am Teacher Gela. Today I want to talk about a book, children book. The title of this book is The Boy with Flowers in His Hair. Do you know this book? This book is good for toddlers and preschoolers. And I'm going to give you the basic story of this book first. The boy with flowers, his name is David. But the story of the book is spoken by David's friend, David's best friend. But it doesn't say this boy's name in the book, so I'm just gonna call this boy David's friend. So it starts from school. They are classmates, so they are in the same classroom. David has beautiful flowers in his hair. He liked that part, and his friends also like that part, or even the teachers. So everybody liked to, play with David. He was also very nice and gentle friend. So especially with his best friend, they had a great time together. But one day, something started to happen. David's best friend found that one of David's flower petals fell off, and one by one more flowers fell off. That day, David didn't want to talk. A few days later, or right next day, David came to school with a hat. When he took off his hat, he didn't have flowers anymore. He only had spiky branches. And David was quiet. The other friends in the classroom, they stayed away from David a little bit because they didn't want to get hurt from his spiky branches. But David's best friend, he didn't leave David. He stayed with David. He still played with David. He also got hurt, but this best friend said, I got some scratches, but it's okay. It's not David's fault. So they played together, but David was still sad. One day, this best friend had a great idea. He wanted to help David. And he had an idea of making paper flowers with paper, scissors, and paint. He made beautiful paper flowers and put it on David's hair. When other friends saw that, they helped him. So David got lots of paper flowers and he looked happier than before. And after some time, the David's best friend realized that David is getting real flowers again in his hair. One, two, three, four, five flowers. And then David's hair was full of beautiful real flowers again. David's best friend thought, okay, he doesn't need any more paper flowers, but I'm going to keep them with me just in case he needs them again. And then the story ends like that. It's an happy ending. So, when you first listen to this story, what comes to you first? Like when you read this book to your child, if you want to add some explanation, what can you add? What kind of explanation do you want to give? Well, when I read the general explanation about the book on the website, the book website, this book, I guess the author or the publisher, they want to talk about friendship, acceptance, kindness, and also about, someone's hard time with sickness. So those are the basic lessons that we can teach about. But I also found another lesson that we can add to these great things. So I want to talk about those today. So let's start with friendship. Number one, friendship. David's best friend was really David's best friend. When other classmates wanted to stay away from David because they didn't want to get hurt, which is understandable, right? But David's best friend didn't do that because he knew that it's gonna hurt David's feeling. Well, he's already sad about his lost flowers, right? But if friends like to stay away from him, it's gonna hurt his heart as well, right? So David's friend stick to David through the good time and a hard time. So friendship is like that. So you're gonna talk like this when you teach this to your child. So friendship is something like this. You stay with your friend in the good time, in the sad time, in the bad time, in the hard time. However the time is like, you wanna stick to your friend, you wanna be with your friend. That is like good friendship. Number two, let's talk about acceptance. Did David accept the new reality? Well, on the first day he lost his first flower, he stopped talking. But next day he came back to school. Did he cry about, why did I lose my hair? Why did I lose my flower? I want my flower. This is not my regular hair. Where are they? Where are they? Did he do that? He didn't do that. He was sad. He didn't like the situation, but he accepted it. He accepted it. Okay, my flowers are falling. Actually, I lost all of them now. I only have spiky branches. He was sad, but he didn't deny the situation. He was sad, but still he came to school. And when his best friend tried to play with him, he played with him. He tried to have his normal school day. That is accepting the reality. You're not saying, this is not my hair. Well, that is not true. This is your hair. The spiky branches are your hair now. We gotta see the reality, even though it is sad. So that's about acceptance. And number three is kindness. Where can we see kindness here? Who was kind? Well, to David, David's best friend was kind. Other classmates, they stayed away from David because they didn't want to get hurt from spiky branches. Well, it is understandable, but it definitely made David sad. How about David's best friend? David's best friend chose to stay beside David, even though he got some scratches from his branches, right? Why did he do that? Because he was David's best friend and he wanted to be kind to his best friend. He didn't want to hurt David's heart. David is already sad with his hair. I don't want him to be sadder because I don't play with him anymore. So David's friend was kind to David all the time. How about other classmates? Were they kind to David? Not all the time. Not all the time. But when they saw David's best friend making paper flowers for David, they wanted to help. They wanted to help and they helped making paper flowers for David, right? So that behavior was kind behavior. Is kindness important? Well, kindness is important because when we are not kind to other people, that can hurt their feelings. Think about yourself. Like, do you want to get hurt by other people? No, you don't want to get hurt, right? So we don't want other people feel that way either. So it's important to think about before we say something, before we act in certain way, is my word, is my behavior gonna hurt this person's feeling or heart? If it may hurt them, then we don't want to do that. We don't want to say that word. We don't want to do that action because we want to be treated kindly. we have to treat other people kindly. All right. Number four, sickness. So this one is, I would say, it's not, it might not be very easy thing to, explain about with the story, but I would recommend to use this story if you have this specific situation in your child's life. I think it's good to talk about it, even though your child never experienced that before. So you can explain it like this. Sometimes we can get sick, right? We all can get sick. There are viruses and bacteria. We can get sick. And sometimes when people get sick, they have to get the treatment. With the treatment, they may lose their hair. They don't like it. They don't like it. But because they have to get better, they have to go through this time. And it's like how David was losing his flowers. When he started to lose his flowers, he got sad, right? But can he do anything about it? He couldn't do anything about it. He just had to wait. He just had to go through his day and he had to wait until the new flowers come back. So it is hard time for that person and we want to respect that. We have to be kind to not to hurt their feelings even more. So it's not something to laugh about or it's not something to talk about in a weird way because it wasn't their fault. So, like this way, you can introduce this topic to your child. In addition to these four lessons, I want to add one more lesson to this story, seasons. Well, seasons were the first thing that came to my mind when I finished reading this book. There are seasons in this world, right? I know every country and every place in the world has a different style of seasons, but generally there are spring, summer, fall, winter, right? And after winter, spring comes back, right? So you can talk about seasons to your child. And how do those seasons change? With the time, right? With the time, the weather changes and the season changes. Let's think about the flowers, like the flowers in David's hair. First, David had a blooming season. He had a beautiful, lots of beautiful flowers in his hair. That was blooming season. But as time goes by, he started losing flowers, which is like falling season. We can call it falling season. And then again, with the time, he lost all of his flowers completely. And after some time, his flowers came back. So they are like the different seasons in the world. Like in the spring, there are new leaves are coming out on the tree and new sprout of flowers start to grow. And in summer, with the different weather, they start to grow more, they get bigger, they get taller. Some flowers bloom at the time. And what happened in the fall? In the fall, with the weather, the leaves start to fall, the flowers start to die. And what happened in winter? With the cold, cold weather, it's hard to see anything growing. But when spring comes back, the new leaves start to come again. Do you see the seasons there? Do you see the seasons in David's flowers? So David was going through the seasons. First from blooming season to falling season, and then a little dark season, he only had branches left, and then growing season again. Did he want to have different seasons? I don't think it's what he wanted, but that's what was happening in his hair. It was out of his control. There are things that are out of our control in the world. In seasons are one of them. And also, things always change in the world. Most of the things change in the world. And that is a natural thing. And we just have to accept that. That's how things are in the world, and we have to accept that. And we just have to learn how to live with those changes. So, how did David go through the hard season? Which was, he lost all the flowers, his branches were hurting other friends, which he was not happy about, and he didn't like his hair. How did he go through that hard season? Well, he stayed low, right? But he didn't choose to just stay at home because he didn't want to go out with his new hair. He still chose to go to school. He still chose to play with friends, like his best friend. He lived his everyday life with bravery. And then David's friend's help was a great help. David's best friend not only stayed with David, he used his creativity. He actually made paper flowers for David. So he found a creative idea to help David to go through the hard time. The paper flowers definitely helped David to go through the hard time, right? Without the paper flowers, it might be sadder. Paper flower made him to feel better, to feel happier. And also, there's another acceptance thing. Did David refuse David's friend's help? When David's best friend made paper flower, did David say like, "This is not the real. I don't like it. I don't like your help. I don't need your help." Did he do that? He didn't. He was grateful for, and he liked that his best friend was trying to help him. So he happily got the paper flowers and let his classmates make paper flowers for his empty branches. He accepted friends' help. So all those things made David to go through the hard time. His bravery, his acceptance, and accepting help from his friends, all of them helped him to stay okay in the hard time and wait until the good season come back. So finally, let's connect this to growth mindset. I mean, this teaching about these things are teaching about growth mindset, but to give finer, concrete lesson to our children. You know what else is like the seasons? Actually, there are many other things are like seasons in the world. For example, you may be healthy today, but you may be sick tomorrow. Whether you want you to be sick or not, you may be sick tomorrow. But with the time, you will get healed, you will feel better, and your healthy body will be back. That's like season. And another example is one day you may feel like you like to play with many friends, you like to build with friends. But the next day, you don't feel like playing with friends. You want to play alone. Maybe a few days later, you may feel like want to play with friends again. One more example is like one year, you may be very popular in your class, but the next year, you may not be so popular in the class. Didn't happen because of your behavior. There can be things like that. So for season like things that just naturally happen in the world and things that are out of our control, but we know that things can change again. For that kind of things, what do we need to do? When you're in the hard time, hard season, you have to accept the new situation, but know that the good time will come again. So just try to go through your day with your bravery, and you have to be able to wait until the good time comes again. In the meanwhile, you can choose to be positive rather than being negative and just be sad about this hard situation. You can choose to be positive and be creative and think of ways to make the situation better, like making paper flowers instead of real flowers. When we choose to stay positive, creative, and ready to make an action to make things better, there are possibilities to make things better. If you just choose to stay negative, well, nothing's gonna happen. You will just be there. Does it sound too hard? This last part can be a little hard for toddlers, but you don't need to go that deep. You can just explain the simple concept. Like, sometimes hard time comes, but you can remember that the good time will come back again. So stay positive, be creative, have fun in there, and wait for the good time comes back. So those are the lessons that you can teach with this book. What do you think about that? I just added, my own lessons to the lessons that are commonly found. Did you like that part? So if you have a chance to see this book, read this book, try reading it with your child, and then teach about those lessons. I think it's a great book to teach about growth mindset. So today I have an activity idea. I don't normally do a lot of activity, but I came up with this idea and I think it goes really well with the lessons and it's very easy to set up. I'm gonna make a Play-Doh mat with the face. I will make it and I will make it available on the website so you can definitely download it. On the play mat there is going to be a face of a child or person, human, and then you're going to give hairs, not the hairs. It's like the branches. So you can use pipe cleaners. First, you have to put the Play-Doh on the face part, put a Play-Doh on the face part, and then you can let your child put the pipe cleaner in the Play-Doh. So it looks like hair or the branches. And you can give buttons or beads. So if you're doing it with your toddlers, you definitely need to sit beside because the beads are, small unless you use like really huge ones. So you can give buttons or beads and your child can thread the button or the beads into the pipe cleaner. So in the beautiful blooming season, this person can have lots of beautiful beads or button. It looks pretty, it looks full, and because it was a season, there can be a dark season. When the dark season comes, like fall or winter, he will lose his beautiful hair. Then your child can take off the beads. And then when the growing season, when the blooming season comes again, they can put the beads back. So it's really great way to explain the concept. It's like a season. After this time can come, and then this time can come, and then it will come back again. You know what I mean? So I will make this Play-Doh mat and I will link it in the blog post. You just have to make sure that you are on our Everyday Fun Day email list. All right? So that's it for this week. I hope you like that. If you have any question about today's lesson, then feel free to email me at info@everydayfunday.ca. Okay? Thank you for listening, and I will see you next time again. Bye.